Good morning, good morning. Oh, let's hear that again. Good morning. Good morning. In the middle of your tables, you will find an origami crane. These have long been pieces of art, a symbol of peace, love, and hope. They also represent new beginnings. Connecting to today's theme, Arts and Music for All, a new era in creative workforce prep. My name is Allison Yoshimoto Towery, the Executive Director of the UC CSU Collaborative for Neuroscience, Diversity, and Learning. Today, you won't hear a lot of long bios for each speaker. Instead, you'll have access to the agenda and bios using the QR codes on the screen. We'd also like your help taking notes. This is not a Las Vegas moment. What happens here needs to leave the room. So, while Anne over here on this side of the room is taking our community notes. Hi, Anne, good morning. Good morning. We'd like you to take your own notes at your table, so you can designate somebody at your table to take notes, or you could each take notes. We have an online note-taking survey that you can access on that QR code. And if you're not into those things, just write on Post-it notes and leave the Post-it notes in the middle of the table. We'll collect it. We want to capture the wisdom in the room to carry through to our other events and spaces across the state. And third, we're not going to take a formal break today until lunch, so we would welcome you to take care of your personal needs. The bathrooms are through these doors, just to the left. The nutrition hub is in the back, so feel free to take care of your personal needs. And we've also spaced everybody out for your comfort and enjoyment today, instead of sitting so close together. A few words about the UC-CSU Collaborative. On the next slide. It's just that, a collaboration which takes the best of research to support educator preparation, reflective practitioners, and informed policy. The 3 Ps, preparation, practice, and policy. Our statewide resource hub is launching next spring, and we're interested in partnering with you, like-minded individuals and organizations, because together these 2 segments of higher education prepare over half of the teachers in the state. The reach is wide, but it's wider with your support. Our logo colors represent and reflect not only the higher ed partnership between the UC and CSUs, but an openness to linking higher education to the statewide system of the support, community-based organizations, and all of us in the room. So when considering the students we're serving, our logo also represents, you see a little child appear in the middle, working to support the whole child, to create inclusive, equitable spaces for all of our students. And the circles represent academic success, cognitive skills, social emotional development, and our young people's health and well-being. And this is where the arts education and integration comes in, supporting all aspects of the whole child. So for more information, please visit our team in the back corner over here. And before we continue with our program, I'd like to invite my colleague, Kevin Kane, to come up and guide us through 4 deep breaths, followed by a moment of silence. This practice will center ourselves in the present, extend our care to those near and far experiencing suffering, and focus on health and wellness. It also will express gratitude for the land upon which we gather today. Kevin?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces, and I'm hoping to meet some new ones. I might invite all of us to think of ourselves as that whole child today, if that's okay. And one way in our programs at UCLA and throughout the community that seems to help a lot of our young folks, K through 12, TK through 12, is just start every class with a few breaths, maybe a stretch. And so if you're open to it, in your space where you're sitting, maybe we could just reach up and stretch out the commute that got us here. Oh, that's letting go of the stress of the 405 and lowering. And I'll invite you to do something that is very common in our teacher training programs here at UCLA, which is just 4 deep breaths to connect ourselves to our heart, our blood, our spirit, our potential. I'll guide us in that. We're going to inhale deeply. Exhale. Second. Third. And our fourth breath. We think the arts classroom is a great opportunity and a great space for everyone to bring their whole selves. So hopefully we'll have an experience like that for ourselves this morning. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
I never grew up with a dad, and sorry. Okay. And there was always the worry of financial struggles, right? My mom, she had to work 2 jobs, she had to work long hours, and I was alone most of the time, and I feel anxious.
It was a Monday morning, about 4:15. You were busy dreaming, so what did you wake up for? Are you a stranger in your own life? What are you hiding behind those eyes? There's no one looking for you there. You know your song saved my life. I don't sing it just so I can get by. Won't you hear me when I tell you, darling, I sing it to survive.
Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Pretty cool video, right? And it's very interesting. I can relate to that. My name is Fabian, and as we are here talking of the arts and its importance, and the invitation is being extended to help us reveal that. I'm going to paint some pictures. I'm an artist, visual artist, and so ever since I was a kid, I grew up in the 80s, the decade of violence, crack cocaine epidemic. I grew up in East Los Angeles, in this case, Boyle Heights. And I remember as a child being a first-generation Mexican-American, I had to deal with the influx of immigration, which was very difficult on both my parents. The stress, father having to provide, made some choices that led him to becoming a drug dealer. And as a drug dealer, then I became fatherless in a sense because he was no longer attentive. And so there was a lot of domestic violence, abuse, neglect, and abandonment. But ever since when my father would crack in and kick down the door, I remember me being so frantic and not being able to protect my mother. I would go and run and hide under a coffee table with a beautiful long drape. And there I would pick up my notebook and I'll start to create my own worlds to escape my reality. That's when I found art, not just to be a technique, but most importantly, it was a gift that belonged to me and no one was going to take that from me. Eventually, because of my traumatic events in life or my complexity of trauma, I would lean on art to help me. That was my refuge. It would help me deal with everything that I was dealing with at the time. But again, I brought that gift of art with me to school. So in 3rd grade, I would draw. 4th grade, do your math work. Why aren't you doing your English work? You shouldn't have to be drawing in class. And so I would go 2 + 2 = 4, plus 4 equals a drawing. Now get your ass to the principal's office. You're not to be drawing in class. That went on and on. In 8th grade, there was a teacher, and I was just about to give my mom a glimpse of the dream. My son's gonna go to Dolores Mission Catholic School, end up in Salesian, and Bosco Tech one day. That was the ideal dream. but a teacher took it upon himself to fragment that dream. I was drawing in class 2 weeks into graduation, and I was drawing and doing my thing, coping with life, and just embracing my gift of art at the time. Teacher comes and he says, Fabian, you're not to be drawing in class. And I said, why are you making a big deal out of this? We're going to graduate in 2 weeks, bro. Like I said, don't draw in class. Well, first of all, you're belittling me in front of my colleagues in the classroom. Second, you're about to set up a stage and I'm gonna perform. And so as I'm there, what am I supposed to do? The colleagues, my students are saying, ooh, what are you gonna do now, fool? So of course I'm gonna continue to draw in class. So I continue to draw in class. Sure enough, he comes around and he startles me, grabs my artwork, puts it in my face, and he says to me, what did I tell you? Don't draw in class. In that moment, not only did I feel betrayed, I felt very small, because the gift of art was not just a gift. It was more than that to me. It was my refuge. It was my big brother. It held me. It embraced me, and it kept me from doing other things in comparison to the trauma that I was enduring. And then that moment when he did that, he reminded me of my father. But the difference was, he is not my father, and you don't get to do that. So I get up, I grab a desk, and I throw it at the teacher. And again, Fabian then in that moment became to be the bad kid. Fabian should have never threw a desk at the teacher. But not for once did the teacher get held accountable for ripping Fabian's artwork. So off to the principal's office again, and they walked me across the street to Dolores Mission Church, where I met Father Greg at the age of 10, the founder of Homeboy Industries. Unlike every teacher that I had come across from 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, Father Greg saw something else in me. There was no punishment. He said to me, what happened, son? And I said, well, this fool ripped my artwork, G, and no one's gonna take that from me but me. And he goes, oh, my son, you're gonna get expelled. You're gonna go to public school. But before you leave, son, I want you to do something for me. What's that, Father Greg? I want you to go home and draw me something. I was like, what? For the very first time, I wasn't being punished and penalized for what I love to do. He actually saw me for me, my gift of art, and he returned it right back to me. Many of the reasons why I am probably now today the executive director and co-founder of the Homeboy Art Academy. And I say that to share with you that all it is it takes someone to believe and to see you and to recognize your gifts. In this case, my gift was art. And so because it is now not longer me, it's my communities. So how do I then return that gift and return that gesture back into my community? So now as a leader within my community, it is a must that I take it upon a responsibility to create equity, access, and provide arts disciplines to the young men and women that are formerly incarcerated, gang involved. And I come to learn through the investment that Father Greg and Homeboy has made onto me, I have also been able to impact many youth throughout the camps, juvenile halls, parks and recreation centers, even adult prisons. And it's amazing when you make that connection and when the young men come to find you at the academy and the process continues. So it's for me, the invitation to you all is just to really think about the power and the importance of the arts and how that can actually really shift the mindset of a young man or woman. Also, it gives them purpose, a purpose of belonging, a purpose to believe in self. It also becomes a direct communication line to something higher than themselves. That is how important the arts have played in my life and continue to play in the lives of those I come in contact with. Every one of us here has an opportunity to make that difference, not only in the young lives that we come in contact with, but as a policy or even as an institution. How do we then think outside of the box, utilize these traditional arts practices that are culturally relevant, culturally responsive to the populations that we serve, so that they can see themselves and feel themselves through these disciplines that we are about to embark on through visual arts, music, creative writing, poetry, or anything at hand. So I invite you today to keep an open mind and an open heart, that for it is our responsibility as adults, and it is our responsibility to also contribute to making the world a safer place. And the power of the arts can help us do that. Thank you for having me here.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to UCLA. Thank you, Fabian. Amazing, as always. Homeboy is one of those incredible places that we have in our city of Los Angeles, that we are just so fortunate to have had Father Greg and the impact of all of his work. I'll tell you just a little story. I was part of a team that was evaluating Homeboy many years ago, and Father Greg does not like evaluation. And at the end of our report, they had just moved to the new site, and they were really struggling financially. We had the Great Recession, and people weren't able to fulfill their pledges for the new building. And at the end of the report, we wrote that Father Boyle is a missionary, not a manager. And that's exactly true. And you see that in Fabian's story. So thank you. You've inspired us, Fabian, with your own journey, and have ensured that the young people at Homeboy Industries and beyond are not simply surviving, but instead are thriving through their participation in the arts. In doing so, you have pushed us to think creatively. Yes, I use that word intentionally, big C creative, about the power and purpose of the arts in education for our youth here in California. And thank you so much for sharing your story today. Can we just flip the slide? Thanks. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the UC-CSU Collaborative for Neuroscience, Diversity, and Learning. Some of our folks are here today for co-sponsoring today's event with the School of Education and Information Studies here at UCLA that I have the great honor of serving as dean. Access to the arts and arts integration are crucial for all of our students, particularly for those who are underserved and those who we sometimes describe as our out-of-the-box learners. I am the parent to one of these exceptional children, and I am grateful every day for the joy, humor, and charisma she brings to my and her teachers' lives, and to her love for the performing arts. Collaboration between researchers, practitioners, and policymakers across the University of California and the California State University campuses is allowing us to shape educator preparation and professional development across the state, and to ensure that all learners receive the instruction and support they deserve. And we are so grateful for this partnership. When Proposition 28 overwhelmingly passed in November, it ensured about $1 billion in annual funding that will reach California public schools and make it possible for all 6 million pre-K through 12th grade students to have access to music and arts programming. Prop 28 represents the largest investment in arts anywhere in the country to date, and we all have a responsibility to play a key role in this incredible juncture. And of course, we're all very excited to do so. This is really amazing. It's a new day, and it means that we cannot simply rely on what we have done before. We must bring fresh eyes and innovative ideas to the table. First, we must bring talent to our schools. While we can draw on more traditional ways of recruiting and retaining educators and leaders, we should also think more innovatively. For example, 90% of Fortune 500 companies use an electronic tracking system, I know that sounds a little Big Brotherish, but to filter, organize, and streamline job applications. Imagine the power of such a system in education, particularly during this workforce crisis. Second, we must build more traditional arts pathways across higher education. Today, during the higher education panel, you will hear from individuals from disciplines including public affairs, theater, film, and television, and architecture who are preparing and partnering with schools of education to build this very pipeline. And third, we must expand non-traditional pathways. One way to accomplish this is to bring teaching artists into schools, to offer curriculum and training, and to ensure their success in the classroom. Now is the time for us to ensure that all of California's young people at all grade levels, and regardless of race, family income, or zip code, have access to the arts. And we are part of that solution. Now I'd like to turn things over to Austin Beutner. Austin needs no introduction to anybody in this room, I know for sure. Former superintendent of LAUSD, he served as the first deputy mayor of Los Angeles and was the publisher and CEO of the LA Times, San Diego Tribune. But for us here today, his most important role is author of Proposition 28. He's also going to be our MC for today. So let me welcome my friend, Austin Beutner.